Hello, everybody. I am Melissa Nielsen. I hope you are having a good day and a good week. I tried to play with the whole flipping it around because somebody sent me some tips. It's still not working. Because if I put, oh wait, hold on. Maybe it'll work now. No, it just makes me have weird filters. Doesn't give me any option to, gives me I can look like I'm on acid or country or classical, but it does not give me an option to not have it mirrored. I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, so we're just going to get started. And hopefully it being mirrored isn't a big deal to you. So I'm going to tell you one of my secret things that I love, Post-it flags. And these are actually not regular flags. These are Post-it tabs. I like these because you can write on them with a pencil. Write them with a pen. I like them. They have a spot there for you to write on it. So I would suggest getting some of these and utilize them a lot. If you haven't already fallen in love with these are a great thing to fall in love with. I love mine. I use them all the time. And I use them for just about everything. So I would, if I were you, I would use them in your planner. And to mark where you're at, especially once you start doing the school bits, the school portions, and we start doing the actual planning pieces, I would mark, big overview plan, and I'll take you through that when we get there. So today last week you were supposed to do your evaluation stuff. So hopefully you have watched that video and you've done the evaluation stuff and you are ready to get started on the confidence end of things. So today we're going to talk about confidence a little bit. And I've got a few questions in here about confidence. And then your assignment for the week is going to be to sort of go through and write your actual rhythm down. And then so that we can get an idea of what you really want your rhythm to be. This is a really good time. And somebody has asked me, a couple of people have said, why would you do this now? It's going to change in the fall. Well, again, the reason why you want to get a good view of an accurate view of your actual rhythm is because you want to be able to sort of see things coming in the fall. You want to be in a spot where you feel like, hey, well, that's not going to fit because I know how it felt last year. So you're sort of giving it a dry run now. Now, I do the actual rhythm piece whenever things feel off. I go, all right, I'm going to write everything down for a couple of days and see where are we really at. Because the mind can play tricks on you. You're going to think you're in one place, but when you actually put it down on paper, you are often in a completely different place than where you think you are. So utilize that as a tool for this next week, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. So again, did anybody have any questions about evaluating? How did your evaluations go? How are you feeling about the numbers that you gave yourself? And sort of how are you feeling about sort of walking forward and talking about confidence this week? So I'm going to give you a second to respond to that. And I'm going to also talk to all of you. We had this little conversation this morning on another group about people who are just too stressed out to print out the planner or to buy it because they don't want to mess it up. Stop that. This is an intervention. This is all about changing habits. That's what I want you to get in the habit. I want you to get in the space of, this is about changing habits. Because really and truly, if you're here working through this planning journal with me, there's either something you want to learn or you just want to waste time on the internet, which hopefully that's not the truth. Hopefully it's because you have something you want to learn. So with that in mind, you got to do the work that goes with it. So I want you to really be ready to do the work. So does anybody, I know a lot of people are joining us. Does anybody have any comments about their evaluation that they did last week? Jennifer, my numbers are low. It is easier for me to write an explanation than grade myself. Okay, well, and I think that's okay. I think it's okay to sort of write the explanation next to it and then give yourself, that's what I did on a lot of mine. I went, well, I know I'm going to give myself a 5 or a 6 and this is why. And so that's what the explanation spot is for. It is so that you can, hi everybody, so that you can realize that it's a snapshot in time. I want you to be able to, that's why I had to put the year in the front of this. I want you to be able to look back in years to come and go, look at how far I've come, or, oh, look, I was really still struggling with that. Why am I still struggling with that? So this year I want you to sort of look at this as very much so a baseline, and there's only going forward. We're only going to get better. And yes, Kelly says we're always the hardest on ourselves. Yes, ma'am, we are always the hardest on ourselves. Even those of us who are confident are hardest on ourselves. Yeah, it's the human animal. And I think if you're not hard on yourself or harder on yourself than somebody else would be, then it probably means that you have some ego work to do. It's okay to think you're really good at something, but to think that you're totally done, you never have anything else to look at, then we might need to look at your ego a bit. And Jen says, evaluation gave me a good picture of where I'm at and where I want to end up before the end of the year. It was definitely an exercise I needed to do to get all of my thoughts down. Wait, I gotta push the C more. And figure out what needs the most work. Absolutely. So I'm gonna go ahead now, giving you guys some time to comment. Let's go ahead and get started on the confidence piece. So the confidence piece, I know is going to be something that some of you are going to struggle with. And I want to share something with you. So I know I seem like a super confident adult, and I am a fairly confident human being. I think but there are areas that I'm not super confident in. Like, you asked me about paleo eating, and I'd be like, give me 20 minutes to research that. Because that's not what I do. Ask me about temperament, I could talk to you for 3 hours about it. So while I am a pretty confident human being, it depends on what we're discussing. And so, and I think really when we become more balanced as adults, it's okay for us to say, I'm not very confident in that, but I am really confident in this. And because I learned this over here, and I am confident in this, that means I have the potential to be able to learn that. Like, I could learn that inside and out, and I could feel really good talking about that. But all of us have to start somewhere. So I want to share with you sort of my family background, and I've talked about this in bits and pieces, but I don't know that this part here made me really think about things that I probably haven't talked about. So, and this is relating to the confidence page. So where that has the boxes of the last time I felt really confident in my parenting, marriage, and homeschooling was, and I put this week, because that's where I'm at right now. I remember feeling confident as a child. I was confident in, and then this is where there was a struggle for me. So my confidence has been since my parents divorced and forward. So my parents divorced when I was 9. And my stepdad's a great guy. So this is not even talking about him. We're talking about my birth father here, who was in the military, command sergeant major, very regimented, very mean. And you couldn't be confident in anything because that meant that he was not confident. If you were confident, then he couldn't be confident. Like, you couldn't have two people that were extremely unhealthy choleric. And so when I was going through this, it actually made me really think about those times in my childhood where I didn't feel confident at all, and how it took me building things up. And it took my mom, who got out of an abusive relationship when I was 9, it took her building things up. And I've talked about my mom in some other podcasts, and about how I know she struggled with things, and it took me a long time to really figure out her temperament, because she's been like management mom since I was 9, and I think she's getting ready to retire, and I think she kind of doesn't really know how to not be that. So it's going to be very interesting for her. So because of that, it really affected how my confidence was built as a young adult. And so if you've got that going on, that dynamic going on, where you've had maybe a harder childhood with an unbalanced choleric, or somebody that just made you not feel good. Jennifer says, nothing was ever good enough as a child. Yeah, from my father and then mother. Yeah, that's a really hard one. And while I had some struggles with my mom, with regards to things like that, it was always about her pushing, and and it wasn't in a, like, now, looking back, some of it was probably pushing too hard, but it was always like she had the expectation and she raised the bar, and my job was to meet it. But it was in a fairly healthy way. Like, you're going to private school, I don't pay for C's and D's, I pay for A's and B's kind of thing. And so I knew that if I was in the C's and D's place, I was going to be in trouble, and I didn't want to be there. So I always worked to reach that. And that stays in play until you're about, 16, 17 years old, where you think to yourself, you know what, if I keep getting bad grades, if I am only here for my parents, if I don't like move forward for me, I'm gonna be stuck here and I'm not going to have opportunities. And so the idea is that when we're raised in a situation where we are given inspiration, not necessarily motivation, although some of us had that, then we are sort of hopefully getting to a place where we start to realize the world isn't going to just hand us stuff, that if we want something, we have to work for it. Even if we're of a temperament where we might want to work about it as slowly as possible. And that's okay. And so I think that we have to really look at, when we're struggling with confidence, we have to really look at where we came from, where that started, where those thought processes began. So when I go back to then, when I remember feeling confident as a child and what I remember feeling confidence in, all of it was after my parents divorced, every bit of it. I was confident I was in the organization Job's Daughters when I was a preteen and teen, early teen years. And I was fairly confident in that because that required, we had a lot of memorization work, and it was like a sisterhood, and I was an only child at the time. So there were things that I wanted to go to and have the confidence in those things. I wanted to have my memory work be in a good place because there were other adult mentors there that I really respected and that I wanted to look upon me in a respectful light instead of, a teenager that was a pain in their butt kind of thing. And so those were the years that really changed things for me. High school was another place where I gained some confidence. It doesn't mean I didn't get bad grades. I can remember getting a D in biology and like begging my biology teacher. I still remember like the look on his face, begging him to please do not put that grade on my report card because this is what's going to happen. And so he looked at my work and he was like, well, your assignments are not bad. It was your tests that were bad. So I want you to go teach the citric acid cycle to 5 people and they all have to sign off on it and come back. And I remember doing that. I couldn't tell you now what I taught people, but I remember doing that. And I remember that teacher having that confidence in me, that because he took the time to really understand, hey, it wasn't the assignments, she just struggles with testing. And I did struggle with testing, so this might surprise some people, but I have dyslexia, and it shows up more so when I am stressed out. And for me, it's not, it's the kind where you're not about mirroring letters as much as it's comprehension, and reading out loud is a struggle. And so then you put my stroke on top of that a few years ago, and that added a whole other myriad of things to play. So, but as a kid, as a teenager, and as a young adult, when I was in college, I had to seek out teachers that would work with me, teachers that could see, hey, she's putting forth effort, and because she's putting forth effort, I'm going to match my energy to that. And so I can remember my first year in college having another teacher that was like that when I was really, really struggling, and I would tell him that I was really struggling. And this was a classroom that had 300 students in it, but because I took the time to go meet with him and talk to him, he gave me the same kind of energy in return. So I want you to think about how you can sort of put those sorts of things at play in your life now. Where are you on your confidence level? What things are you really struggling with? I mean, are you struggling with your parenting every day? And is it a lack of information? I doubt it. If you're here, it's probably not a lack of information. Is it a lack of will in putting some of that into place? So I'm going to stop right there, because if it is a parenting situation, my video that I did on Monday on the Waldorf Essentials with Melissa Nielsen page was all about yelling. So if you need to go watch that video, go watch that video. And I will say, it's not about me not ever yelling, because I yell sometimes, but it's about talking about the triggers and how you can yell less and not yell from that place of anger. So Caitlin says, I was so confident during my school years because of my intellect. My mom pulled me from school and I lost all of it. I felt less than ever. So it's about figuring out that lack of confidence coupled with Fears of homeschooling is okay. So I think that, and I think that you were straight on when we were talking in another thread about your temperament. I think that you really have to look at while we're struggling with having confidence in this. What made you confident in college? It wasn't that likely that you could naturally whiz through everything. It was likely that you took the time to learn the things, and you took the time to go through them. Now, with your temperament, so I'm just going to say it, so hopefully I'm not upsetting you, Caitlin. It was on another thread, so I hope that this is okay. Caitlin believes that she is a phlegmatic melancholy, and I think that is this. I think that's definitely true. And so I think that you have the capacity to remember a lot of things. That's a huge phlegmatic trait. You have a memory like an elephant. I laugh every day at Eric when he says, I remember, and I go, stop that, because I don't. Just stop that. Even my kids, especially my phlegmatic boys. Mom, I remember, do you remember that one time? I'm like, no, I don't remember that one time. Sorry. Refresh my memory. So you have a really good memory. So I want you to take the things, I want you to, even if it's just one thing a day, take the bits and pieces that you're learning, because I know the melancholy in you is wanting to, and the phlegmatics wants to study everything to death, but you want to study everything to death from a different place as a phlegmatic than as a melancholy. So I want you to take, couple both of those together, and I want you to then take one gigantic leap a day and put forth things that you have learned, because I know you've learned a lot, and put them into practice and stop overthinking, because that's really, it becomes your enemy. That overwhelm and the overthinking becomes your enemy. And I did a podcast, I think it's been a couple of years ago, on overwhelm, and it was at the beginning of the school year, and I went all through about how it's a waste of your time. It really is a waste of time. So if you are finding yourself, I am so overwhelmed, I've got so many things to do, I don't know, and it sounds a little bit like that, then I want you to say to yourself, this is a waste of my time. Pick one thing, just one, and don't overthink the one thing you pick. So Denise, another mom that have been working together online, she said the other day, she's just moved, and she's been really struggling with like getting the rest of those boxes unpacked. And so we were just sort of back and forth all day long. I said, okay, go get another box, unpack it all the way to the end. And then she came back, she said, oh, I unpacked it. I said, break it down and put away the paper that was in it. She goes, how did you know that I just left it on the table? I said, because I know. I know that that's what you did. Break it all the way down, throw away the paper, break the box down, then go get another box and unpack it all the way to the end, put all of the pieces where they need to go. I get it. I have moved a lot. Moving is a big giant pain in the butt, but you got to get good at like getting moved in, because if you don't get moved in within the first couple of months, you're never going to feel moved in, ever. You're going to really struggle. And you might, like, a year down the road go, oh, I finally feel moved in. And then the next month go, dang it, we need to move again. So don't go to that place. You really want to get unpacked. So pick one thing and just do it. And don't overthink that one thing. Just do it. Get it done all the way through. So maybe, Caitlin, in your case, you are just going to choose one thing, and then maybe that one thing is that you are going to paint every day this week with your kids. Just for the sake of painting. You're not even going to like stress about having a story with it. You're just going to get the paints out and experience the color. I think so many times we get so hung up because we have a kindergarten teacher friend, or our Waldorf friend over here, or somebody that uses this other curriculum says that you have to do it this way, and so then you overanalyze. You go, well, I got to make sure I got the paints right. I got to make sure my color story is perfect, and oh shoot, I didn't get those brushes, and I don't really have really good paint boards. You know what? I'm just not going to worry about it right now. And then you don't do it, and then you stress about the fact that you're not doing it, and it goes on and on and on. So I'm telling you, get the dang paints out, get the paintbrushes out, use your kitchen table if you have to as a paint board. It'll dry, and then you can wipe it off. Get it done. You need to do something with the knowledge that you are obtaining. Do not just let it sit. That's when you get overwhelmed. That's when you get paralyzed by, I can't do it. You need to just get busy. And I'm going to say this here, and it's not necessarily a plug for myself. It is more a plug for finding, if you're using or getting ready to start using a curriculum in the fall that it was not written by a homeschooler that's had her way around the block a few times and wants to be utilizing so much stuff from the school, you've got to know what the school model is, but you really have to look at the home model. If you don't have somebody who is actually looking at the home model and who has actually been doing it at home for a good long period of time, then you are going to struggle right along with that author. And I don't want you to struggle. I'm not saying you have to come by Waldorf Essentials. That would be great if you did. I've been at this for a long time, but I know there are other ways besides just my way. I'm just saying to you that if you are only looking at that, and there's been actually a couple of questions on the Ask Melissa thread, and I go, why are you doing it that way? Oh, because I learned that this is the way they do it in the school, and there are reasons why, and if you ask me, I will give you the reasons why. There are reasons why I do things the way I do in the curriculum, the way I've written it. And those reasons are because as a homeschooler, we have to look at things a little bit differently. So if you took a homeschooled Waldorf kid and a Waldorf school Waldorf kid, both in first grade, the homeschooled Waldorf child is probably going to be reading by the end of the year. The Waldorf school Waldorf child probably won't be. That's nothing against the school at all. I mean, that's just the school's model. In the school, they're not, their goals are a little bit different. Our goals at home are that we're giving them that head, heart, and hands. We're feeding them. We're filling, helping fill that space in them. But we are not on that same space of we're going to drag it out where they've got 30 kids in the classroom. Our job at home is to get them the information, bring it to them in a whole way, and be able to have that rhythm within ourselves. The home rhythm is so different from the school rhythm. It's good to know the school rhythm, but it is also best to then create your own at home. So I'm going to do a couple of comments here. Let's see. I'm going to go back. Let me go back here. Marie says, I don't really remember my younger years so well. Is it all right to feel like you are confident when you take time? Yes, it's all right to feel like you are confident when you take, yes, for sure, Marie. I think that's right. Really what I'm saying is that take the time to learn something and then get out there. That's like reading something is great, but then when you put it into action, that's when it starts to stick up here, and then your memory gets going with it. So it's great to read about painting, and I know you know this, but I'm just using painting as an example. It's great to read about painting. It's great to read about, the wonderful qualities of the paint and why we use these brands of paint and why they were made and how we paint in the early years. It's great to read all that stuff, but really until you do it, then you're not going to cement it in your mind and you're not going to really get it. And I know you get that because you and I, you teach the same things. Okay, I'm going to go here. Jen says, my parents put me in every club and every extracurricular activity because my mom was never allowed to do those things when she was young. Oh, because I was and still am a people pleaser. Sorry, where'd it go? And still I'm a people pleaser. I was always looking for recognition for my talent to feed my confidence. That's a really big trap. It's a really big trap. And I think if I'm thinking right about all of the moms, this is what's coming to mind that I work with that are in that trap. A lot of them are sanguine, and they're like unbalanced sanguine because they bounce from thing to thing, and they're really looking for that recognition. So the sanguine already gets off on recognition, but to then have it more and more and more because you were looking for it in places. So you have to learn to find that here. You have to learn to find that piece here. I realize I need to look for myself and source for my confidence. Yep, that's what I just said. And know that I'm doing a good job. Being a parent and homeschooling mom isn't really something my family holds in high esteem. And I let it affect my confidence. Yes. I have to tell you, when I started this gig so many years ago, my mom said, you're going to do what? You're crazy. I don't think that's okay. I think you're going to fail. And this was a woman that bolstered me up through she was not happy that I walked away from college and got married instead and blah, 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 and all of those other things that came with that. But she was pretty supportive. And so I remember thinking, you don't think I can homeschool my kids? Really? And to me, I was like, game on. because you challenge a choleric and they're going to be like, so sorry, but I'm going for it. So I started off not having any support from family. My ex-husband was very supportive at the time. I'm not quite sure what happened, but very supportive at the time when we started this journey. And so as I was going and going and going, then when I was going through my divorce, my mom said, and my ex-husband was all about, these kids are going to go to school just because he wanted to hurt me. My mom was like, I will fight for you to homeschool because I see what's going on. The proof is already there. And so I think when you have family that is that doesn't hold it in high esteem, that thinks that you're going to fail, you just got to prove them wrong. And that doesn't mean you're on display all the time, because I actually think that that's the opposite. I think that really what you do is you go, I'm going to learn my stuff, and I know my stuff. I'm going to be able to hold a conversation about why my 5-year-old's not reading. So if you're struggling with that one, then you need to understand. You need to really dig into some Steiner, ask some good questions about why we don't cram facts into a 5-year-old. And you need to figure out like what's the right balance. And if you have questions, that's what this group is for. So you need to know your stuff so that when you have conversations with people that don't hold homeschooling in high esteem, that you can make them think and have them go, huh, I didn't expect that coming, so that they can see it. Other ways that my parents were really impressed with homeschooling was that when my nephews came to their house, my nephews wanted to be doing this all the time. They didn't want to be with the adults. They didn't want to be visiting. My kids, on the other hand, were like, hey, Uncle Greg, how you doing? I love you. I missed you. And they wanted to talk to my siblings, my step-siblings. They didn't want to be like away from them. They wanted to interact and to understand. And because you homeschool, you sort of teach your kids that they can interact with a 90-year-old man or a 6-month-old baby, and that they can do that very easily. And so that's not just Waldorf homeschooling, but that's homeschooling in general. You throw Waldorf on the mix. You know how many times my kids went to a family event with knitting in their hands, and how many times my brothers were like, you know, isn't that a sissy thing? And my sons would be like, I don't know what's sissy about this. I know how to sew on a button. Do you know how to sew on a button? And my brothers go, oh, I'm done. No, that's great that you can do that. So, you know, really working on your confidence works on their confidence. When you're confident about homeschooling, they're going to get confident about homeschooling. And it really comes down to what things do you need to get better at? And that's what we're doing in this journal. So, okay, I'm going to answer some more questions. I know I tend to get a little off topic, so sorry. Yes, I get lost in studying, Caitlin. So I just think you should pretend that you're still in college and once a week take a test. And that test is you're going to paint, or you're going to draw, or you're going to do some handwork. So treat it like that. If that's where your space is, where you feel really good, you love studying, then give yourself a test every week. And if you need some help, shout. I'll help you with a test. Laura says, I can relate. I think I'm the same temperaments. Valerie, hi, Val. It's so good to see you every week and then see you on here. Jennifer, oh my. Laura says, my dad used to go to my parent-teacher meetings and say, I don't hear about what she did well in. I want to know where she needs to do better. Oh, that's like the kiss of death that parents can't do. Oh, so bad. So one of the things that I think is super important when we're looking for extracurricular activities for our kids is to look for people that build our kids up. So it's no secret, our kids are in karate. Our kids started with this certain school because I liked the guy that started it. And it was okay. And he didn't push them, but he did push them. And he was like this big martial artist. Well, then he sold it to this guy that's amazing. Not that Mark wasn't great, but Jerry is amazing. He is amazing because he doesn't have to push. He tells them when they're doing good, really well. He tells them, you know, when they need to fix things. Like Sam needs to hold his fists tighter, which I have to laugh because I handed Jerry my phlegmatic or my temperaments and education book and said, you need to read this. Because he's like, I don't understand. All of the kids, and he named off all these kids in Sam's class that are so phlegmatic. Just by looking at them, I can tell, and by how they interact, I can tell. He's like, I don't understand. I can't get these kids to get tight fists. And I said, oh, I know why you can't get them to get tight fists, because they're phlegmatic. So the tight fist thing is going to be something that you have to work on regularly. And so you really want to make sure that the teachers that they're exposed to for those extracurricular activities are teachers that are going to uplift them not teachers that are going to push them until they have self-deprecation stuff going, because you don't want them thinking they suck because they can't. Sorry, I said suck again at Melody. Sorry. You don't want them to think poorly of themselves because of what they're doing or not doing. That's one reason why in Waldorf we discourage team sports until they're like after the 9-year change. And I know a bunch of moms are like, but we love soccer, or we love baseball. I get that, but if you're going to do that, then you need to be in a league that is non-competitive, or that is not going to be doing that to your child, because that is some big feelings and some really hard feelings. So in karate, they have tournaments. It's always against themselves. It's always about how did I do better. It's not about the person that got the first place, because they realize the only reason why the person got that first place is because they had more numbers than I did, not because we went head to head and I lost. It's about being better than I was last time. So I want you to really think about that when you're thinking about laying out what extracurriculars you are for your child. If you come across some place that you'd like to perhaps take your child to and they won't let you observe, then skip and go on to the next one. You want to go and observe how that teacher reacts with those children. You want to know what's going on in that classroom, because it makes a huge impact on your children. Huge impact. Do not underestimate that. I would say the same thing goes for Sunday school teachers too. So think about it, and I've gone toe to toe with some Sunday school teachers before, and yeah, it's not fun, but you do what you have to do for your kids. So definitely look at all the people in their lives that are going to affect their confidence, and then in turn affect your confidence, how things are going in your house, because we are planning for peace, right? So we want to have peace in our home. So okay, more comments. Let's see. One thing. Sorry, I'm reading and laughing at the same time as I'm going through this. Yes, Brittany says this is exactly what I stress about. Thank you for saying we can just paint. Yeah, I really, I think that Waldorf at Home is so amazing. I mean, you guys know me that have been following me for a while. You know how amazing I think it is. I think the problem is when we overthink things, and when we think that it has to be, we got to pull down this picture and we have to make sure the poem is right, and we have to just paint. That then leads you to the confidence that you need to then be able to do bigger and to do more. But if you don't start with that first step, you're never going to do it. So, that journey of 1,000 steps or 1,000 miles starts with one step. It does always, even when it's painting. Let's see. Going. No, we can't put the school rhythm at home. Just does not work. Hi, Marie. Okay. I think I got through all the comments so far. And then Caitlin says something else, so I'm just teasing. Reading these comments and listening to you speak about the lack of building up children. How do you, as a parent, get better at building your own child up? I am such a critical person. It starts by how you talk to yourself. You got to stop talking to Caitlin in a negative way. And when you start loving Caitlin, because I truly believe this, although people will argue with me, but I truly believe if you don't love yourself, you can't give love to somebody else. And so when it comes to our kids, we kind of have to get to a place where we would go, okay, how am I, and I talked about this in our yelling video on Monday. How am I talking to my child, and would I be okay with the neighbor talking to my child like that? Because if I'm not, then I need to adjust how I'm talking to my child. I think that we really have to examine where that stuff comes from. And again, that doesn't mean you're not getting angry. I spent the last 2 days, actually, like right after the yelling video. Everybody that goes to our co-op is kind of going to laugh at me because I was sort of talking about this yesterday at co-op. Teenagers are hard. And so things have been kind of rocky the last 2 days with Eleanor, who's practically perfect in every way. So, like, taking my own advice about not yelling is sometimes hard. But what I'm upset about has zero to do with her as a person, and more to do with actions that are going on, or imbalances that are going on. So that's like older teenager though. And I'm not yelling at her. I'm just frustrated at her right now. So when we're talking about our younger kids, we really have to think about what we're saying, like what's coming out of your mouth. I talked about this in that other video. Word vomit will kill you every time. So you got to quit. And the word vomit, if you want to know where that term comes from, because somebody asked me, did you make that up? No, it came from Mean Girls. If you haven't seen Mean Girls, ladies, and you want a good laugh, don't watch it with your kids. This is so not like kid friendly, but that's where it came from, word vomit. So you have to just get really good at, and it takes time. It takes time. I will say, Caitlin, when I started down that journey, and realizing, and I sort of said in the other video, and so I'm going to repeat it, and I'm sorry for those that have watched it and get the repeat, but really what started me realizing that I needed to get a hold of it was when I was going through my divorce, and we were fighting in front of my kids, and we were fighting as and I knew my parents. I knew my parents were on their way. They lived 3 hours away. They had sent me a text to tell me that they were in Pocatello, which is like an hour out. So I knew they were going to be there within, like an hour. And I got into it with my ex-husband, which I could have walked away from. Even though he was incredibly abusive, I could have walked away from the conversation. Didn't have to start having it. Could have just walked away. I could tap myself on the shoulder now. But it was also like a major change. So who answered the door when my parents were at the other side? Not me. My 7-year-old, who's 20 now, in tears. And I remember my mom saying to me, don't you ever, ever make me answer the door like that again. Do not ever do that to your children. And I remember thinking, crap. So it starts with how we talk to each other. And then we talk to them that way. We talk to ourselves that way. And even though I'm like this incredibly confident person, that was a really low point in my life. I was frustrated. My ex-husband was incredibly mentally ill, and we were really struggling, and he wouldn't get any help, and he was very abusive verbally, and so I was just surviving. And then you have to decide, okay, I'm done surviving. We're going to either go get help, which didn't work in our case. We tried, and it didn't work, or I had to make another decision, and I had to make that other decision because I didn't want my kids to be in that spot anymore. I had to start loving me enough and them enough to start talking to each other better. So it starts about like, how much do you love these people? I know you love them like to the moon and back. So we have to stop being mean to the people that we love the most. I know there's that adage that we are the meanest to the people that we hold the most dear. Yeah, I get that, but it's still wrong. It's still wrong. We have to stop being so mean to each other, period. It does not matter how much you hold them dear. Now, last night, Eric was frustrating me because phlegmatics, y'all, can get in a loop. And he was in a loop and just going on about something, and I just said, what do you want me to do? And he said, oh, sorry, I was in a loop, wasn't I? Yes, you were. And he walked away, and I had a chance to breathe. I didn't yell at him, but I was like, seriously? What do you want me to do about it? And that was the cleric in me being like, okay, I'm done hearing your dang loop. And he knew. So when he came back in, he said, I'm really sorry. I know I can get in a loop. And I said, well, honey, what can I do so that I don't go to that place because I was frustrated already. Had a headache for 2 days, yeah. And he said, you just need to say, you're in a loop, and I need to be okay with shutting up. I said, okay, now that we understand each other, let's walk forward. So when you are on the same page with your partner, you need to be able to say those things to each other. Like he could say to me, hey, be nice. And I go, oh, okay, I'm not being nice. And so, but you have to be in a good place, because if we were not in a good place, him telling me to be nice, I'd be like, what do you mean be nice? I am nice. Or me telling him to get out of his loop would have him be in a bigger loop. So it all works together. All of this stuff works together. So if you're a Thinking, Feeling, Willing member and you're struggling, please hop on the Mom Lesson for Thrive and try to work on that with your partner. If you're not, you should become a member. Just saying. You can do it for as little as $27 a month. Otherwise, look at our free stuff. We have a ton of free stuff on working through relationships and loving yourself. It's all about loving yourself enough so that then you can step forward. So, okay, I'm reading more comments. praise enough. So Marie says, I'm a perfectionist. Not for anyone else. I've learned to balance thanks to doing these lessons. Thank you, dearie. I do think it's all about learning to balance. And I think that, do y'all remember, I know none of you watch TV ever, and you definitely never watched any Disney shows, but do you remember Bambi and his mom, or Thumper's mom, telling him if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all? Well, I think we have to really adopt that for ourselves. I think we have to stop ourselves. And it's all about judgment and discernment and sort of discerning what's right and what's wrong. And I could do a whole conversation on judgment. But it really, when you can get to a place where you decide you're going to judge somebody, and then you step back and go, oh, I'm judging. I need to step back from that judgment. Like, I'll just give you a perfect one. Hold on, let me look at this other comment. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. See more. I've been yelling. I'm on this yelling thing all day. Oh, man. So tired. Yes, when you're tired, being tired is like the number one trigger for yelling. Be exhausted, and then you can find yourself yelling. Yeah. No more yelling. Yep. Even if I'm bone sick and, yep. Yes, ma'am. What does he do to get out of his loop once he is aware of it? Well, because he's really like gotten much better at things, he'll just go for a walk. Or he'll walk away. Like last night, he just walked into the other room, just walked away from me, knew that I needed to cool off because I was frustrated at him, walked around, and, then he came back in the bedroom and, we watched, I don't even remember what we watched, something dumb, and then went to bed. But it was, he had to be reminded that he was in a loop because he knows he can do it. Such as when you let me, yes, like when I let you know you were in an OCD loop the other day. Yes, ma'am. So I think that, again, you have to have that loving kindness and trust with each other. If you aren't trusting your partner, then you're not going to trust them to say be nice. Or you're not going to trust them or they're not going to trust you when you ask them to get out of the loop. You have to really be in a place of trust. And so when you're in that place, then you can, it can be helpful. So I was going to just say something about judgment really fast. I found myself, the other day we were at a theme park. Oh, Jennifer wants to know, what is a loop? Like, same thing over and over again. I don't understand. Why is this happening? Like in last night, in our situation, we had just had a conversation about what we were frustrated about Ellie about, and I was having a headache, so I was walking away to try to process some things, and then he came back in the bedroom and then was back on it again. That's the loop. The loop is like, okay, just stop thinking about it for a minute. It usually happens to phlegmatics who can't stop thinking. So you have to get really good at like figuring out, okay, I need to stop thinking. So Eric will go take some GABA and then go for a walk. GABA helps tremendously. GABA. It's a non-essential amino acid, and it's super helpful. So as far as like judgment goes, if you can start stopping yourself when you're making judgments. So we were at our favorite amusement park the other day, and I was just walking, and I noticed, so I'm walking with my AP hat on, okay, like my attached parenting hat on, my like, I'm a detached mom, breastfed forever, that hat that we all wear, and if you say you haven't worn it, you're lying. It's the I'm better than you, your choices are hat, that we try not to wear, but that we still wear. So we're walking, and I notice a stroller in front of me, so they're number one. I'm like, why is your kid not in a sling? And then I notice this big, gigantic container of formula in the bottom of the stroller. Then my breastfeeding hat goes on, and I'm like, well, why is she not? And then, thankfully, the rational, I'm trying not to judge people, Melissa hat came on and said, wait a minute, maybe her back is bad, and that's why she's got her baby in the stroller instead of the sling. Maybe she had a surgery, and that's why they're giving their baby formula instead of breastfeeding. Maybe you should stop judging other people and look at yourself in the mirror. Yes, ma'am. So if you're having trouble like not judging other people, like it's really hard when you walk through Costco and you see people with carts and carts and carts full of Pepsi. So I had to tell myself, you know what? Maybe they're on their way to a party, and every person at that party, there's 16 boxes of Pepsi there. Maybe every person's just gonna have one. You have to sort of get away from that judgment place in order to get happy with yourself. Because if you're judging everybody else, then you're not accurately looking at yourself, and you're deflecting, because that's what judgment really is. When you're judging somebody else, you're deflecting. Hey, I'm perfect. I'm perfect. I do not have any problems. So I'm perfect. Don't throw rocks when you live in a glass house. And every single one of us lives in a glass house. All of us. So don't go to that place. So again, when it comes to confidence, because where I was getting with that, sorry to get off track. When it comes to confidence, it needs to not be false confidence. So false confidence would be, well, I'm better than that person over there. Or at least I'm not doing that over there. Or at least I'm not letting my kids watch TV all day. Or at least I'm not. So you need to go, but this is what I am doing. Jen says the Pepsi thing made me laugh out loud. Yeah, I seriously have to do that. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I don't like to judge, and so I'm like, oh, Pepsi. Keep walking. Not that that's your deal. I get it. I have a couple of Dr. Peppers a week. I totally understand. Yes, it is mean. When you wear the self-righteousness hat, it is mean. And you know what? Everybody can be self-righteous. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or Muslim or pagan or nothing, or all of us can be self-righteous about something. And so we just need to keep it real. So, all right, I'm back to this. Sorry for going off the rails. But it is all working as part of the confidence pie here. I want you to, if you have somebody, because this last box on here says, someone hurt me, injured my confidence, and my feelings about forgiving that person are. So I wrote, I already have, because I already had this like forgiveness thing with my birth father time ago. Doesn't mean that the poo doesn't stick to the bottom of my shoe sometimes, and I have to revisit it, but in general, I have forgiven him. Because I had some weird sacred contract with him on the other side that said, show me forgiveness. And I said, oh, please be mean to me. Please. So I've fixed that. But if you are struggling with confidence, and it was one person or a group of people, or your parents, or a 7th grade teacher, or a boyfriend you had when you were 16, or somebody that really injured your confidence, I'm going to submit to you that you need to work on forgiveness of that person, because forgiveness is an act between you and God, not between you and that other person. So Jennifer says, so revisiting, does that mean you have not forgiven? No. That means that there is something there that's triggered, and I have to go, oh, why am I triggered by that? And I got to tell you, I hate that word triggered. I hate it because it's really overused. Really overused. Somebody tells me they're triggered again, I'm going to be like, let's do something else. So the word, as far as forgiveness goes, it's because something else crept in there and brought up that. And so then I have to look at it and go, okay, why was that bothering me? Why did that bring up that flood of memories? Is it because that person did something new? No, he didn't do anything new. Haven't talked to him in years and years. There was nothing new that came in that required me to work on forgiveness again. It was something generally that was somebody else, that was an issue with somebody else. So I have to separate those things out. Often when we separate out what these things are, and we can put one in this box and one in that box and one in that box, then it's easier to forgive this box over here, and then we can forgive that box over here, and then this over here. When stuff surfaces, we really just, sadness for what happened, yes. There can be, and I got to tell you, because of like the situation with my ex-husband and my big kids, I can get in a place where I'm sad about things. But I think what's interesting is that, and I was having this conversation in an email with my son that's on a mission the other day. I told him, I said, I'm really sorry, because my ex has been really kind of nasty to Harry since he was gone. He sort of sent Harry an email a few weeks ago, because Harry's getting ready to come home in the next few months. He said, I will do anything to have a relationship with you. And Harry sent him an email back and said, great, be nice to my mom. And my ex was like, I can't do that. And Harry's like, well, she's part of my life, and you don't have to be her best friend, but you have to be nice to her. If you can't be nice to her, then we don't have anything to talk about. And I said to him, I said, son, I'm really sorry that that was like that. I said, I hope you don't ever feel like I make you choose. He said, no, Mom, there's just no choice. Yeah, I can be sad for what could be, but I'm really happy for what is. And so I think that's what you have to look at, Jennifer, is you have to go, well, this reality would be great. Yeah, it would be great if my ex-husband wasn't that mean person that cared for all three of his big kids and had a great relationship with them. But on the flip side of that, I think about the strength that they have in their relationship with Eric, the strength that they've drawn from other things. And yeah, there will always be that what if, but the strength of the other pieces have to weigh more. And so you really have to sort of look at it from that perspective and stop yourself. When you start to go down that spiral of, because, and I've talked about this before, and so I know the time is short, but if you start here, here's the problem. And then you keep talking about it and it just grows and it just keeps, and you're going to keep talking about it. And then you call your neighbor and you tell your neighbor and then you call your best friend and then you call your mom, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. When if you stop it when it's here and you just go, you know what? I can recognize that and now I can tuck that away. I don't need to go there. I don't need to, because you get the momentum going and it just keeps growing and growing. Pretty soon you're spiraling out of control. You're depressed for days on end. You can't get, you can't get your anger under control. You're yelling more. You're not sleeping right. Then it all comes from one little thing that if you just squash it enough when it happens and don't grow it, you can move on. And that's what you have to get in the habit of doing. And yes, it's hard. And yes, it takes a lot of practice. And yes, it helps build your confidence. And yes, it'll help you be stronger in other things. So it's all about those little pieces. You don't have to keep it in. I know you want to release it, but don't release it to every single person that you talk to. You just want to vanquish it. Keeping it in, it doesn't mean you have to hold on to it. Doesn't mean you have to bury it. It's not buried. It's a lie when we tell ourselves, well, I got to vent to everybody. So we want to make sure that we go, okay, that's done and that's out. I am going to be done. I'm going to go for a walk. And I'm going to start thinking about butterflies. Because then you'll see butterflies, I'm telling you. You want to be attracting the things in your life that you want. If you think about butterflies, I'm just going to challenge you. Think about butterflies, and just when you start to go to that negative place, start thinking about butterflies, like the wings on butterflies, how different they are, how pretty they are. When was the last time you saw a butterfly? And just be thinking about butterflies. Butterflies are gonna you're gonna start seeing them. I know that sounds crazy. It's not crazy, I promise. Okay, so I want you to talk to me, probably offline if you think you need to, about this connecting to source bit and the confidence with that. On mine, I feel most comfortable connecting when I am rested. That doesn't mean I don't pour my heart out to God when I'm exhausted, because I do often. I just don't make any decisions when I'm pouring my heart out and I'm exhausted, because often it's like, I can't believe this day has been so bad. Please help me get through the night so that I can. And then I wake up in the morning and either it's resolved, I have new perspective, he's given me an answer, so many different things. So, but when I approach prayer and meditation when I'm rested, and actually I had a mom ask me this the other day, I only go talk to God when I need something. I go, well, knock that off. Don't, God or source or whatever it is that you're calling it, don't wait until you need something. That's a conversation you should be having all the time, because we all know what it feels like to have a kid that only comes to us when we need something. Hello? We want to be appreciated all the time. We want to be talked to and have that relationship, that back and forth relationship, and it can be so rich and so amazing when it's I stand in appreciation of this. Guide me. Show me what I should do today, instead of, my life is in the dirt, please help me get it out. Those are great conversations too, but don't let those be the only conversations. Okay, I'm going back to some. I think my lack of confidence allows me to accept the role of victim too easily. I think you're right. I think you're right. I need to accept that I can't control the past, but I can determine the, yes, ma'am, you can determine the future. Yes, you can, because you can determine how you react to things. You get to pick, one of the arguments I'm having with my teenage daughter is, well, I don't like it when you take options away from me. And I said, well, you got options. You just don't have options over the consequence. So we have options. We can choose this. We can choose to just, go, you know what, that's in the past. And I've worked through that, and I've worked through it, and I've worked through it, and I've beat it and beat it and beat it. And now I'm not going to beat it anymore. I'm going to actually grow this over here. Even if it just starts with one seed. That's why I said just do one thing. If you think about your garden, you just start with one seed. If you plant one beautiful flower in a pile of weeds, you're still going to have that one beautiful flower. Even though you get a bunch of weeds, you're still going to have that one very beautiful flower. So then you want to plant 2 beautiful flowers and 3, and pretty soon you're not going to see the dang weeds. Or you're going to be like, okay, I'm ready to pull those weeds out. And you're going to be ready. So think about it in those terms. I'm uncomfortable connecting because, and I just put NA because I'm not generally uncomfortable connecting. Usually if I don't want to pray, that's because I need to pray. That's actually another conversation I had with my daughter yesterday. When was the last time you were on your knees about this? And she said, I don't want to talk to God about this. I said, well, I think that means it's time to talk to God about that. Just saying. The last time I felt confident, the connection was so strong that I know someone or something was listening is, so if you're having a hard time with these questions, I want you to feel free to put it in the comments or to ask on a separate thread so I don't get lost in the video comments, or drop me a PM and I'm happy to help, sort of work through some things. There is some space here to just journal, and I would journal your feelings about this, especially if you've got some big feelings that you've been struggling with. So we've worked through those confidence pieces. Now your assignment for the week is to I want you guys to be ready next Wednesday to come with one thing, at least one thing. If you got 10 things, great. At least one thing that you did this week that helped with your confidence. Maybe you decided to just finally get those dang paints out of the garage and paint. Or maybe you decided, well, I think I might fail at beeswax, but I'm going to try anyway. So I want you to tell me one thing that you did this week. So this is next week when we get together next week. I want you to tell me one thing you did that helped build your confidence in something. Hopefully it's in this area, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe you're really also studying to be a nurse and you've been struggling, trying to figure out RH factor, and all of a sudden you figured it out and you feel more confidence. Whatever it is. I just pulled that one out of the sky. I want you to have at least one thing. The other thing I want you to do, starting right now, is the actual rhythm chart. So, of course, you're going to start with Wednesday, because it's Wednesday, or Thursday if you're watching this on Thursday. You start wherever you are, and whatever time it is, so it's right here, and you write what you're doing. And then I want you to be specific. I know there's not a ton of room on here. My idea is that if you're writing 400 times reading Facebook, that you're going to be like, oh crap, I should stop reading Facebook and I should go do something. So I want you to be good about your actual, and I want you to be able to bring that back next week and be ready to talk about it. It doesn't mean I'm going to put anybody on the spot, because I generally don't try to do that. If you feel like you want to share yours with me, take a picture, drop it into my PM. You're welcome to do that. If you feel like you want to share it with everybody, maybe you're having a good time laughing at yourself a little bit or trying to figure some things out, then please post it on Instagram, post it on Facebook, hashtag Planning for Peace, so that we can search them, because we want to be able to see those hashtags. We want to be able to see what people are posting. I also had somebody the other day sent me a picture. She has drawn in her planner, and she drew beautiful pictures on the margins. That's why we tried to leave the margins for you guys. Wanted it to be, a marrying between bullet journaling and having some guided space. And so I want you to decorate it. I want you to have fun. And I want you to show me. I want to see, really want to see what you're doing. So I want you to do that. That's a pretty big one. And then I want you to go through this piece about your strengths. So my strengths are, and you are not allowed to leave this blank. If you leave this blank, I'm going to shake my finger at you. Do not leave this blank. I want you to go through here. My confidence with wet on wet painting is, it could be that it isn't. You can write, I'm not confident. You can write that on there. because that's the next pieces. Then for the next week, we're going to be really brainstorming some things. So I want you to go through these and write down what your confidence levels are, and not rate it from 1 to 10, but really talk about what you feel confident in and what you don't. I think that I'm hoping that you'll find at least something that you're feeling like, hey, I'm a little more confident than that. And maybe you look at the whole big Waldorf soup and you go, you know, I'm actually pretty confident in the handwork thing. I may not know how to do everything, but I can knit, or I can crochet, or, you know, I'm not too bad at drawing. I may not know how to draw the Waldorf way, but I'm not too bad at drawing. And so you're willing to learn. So that's my hope, is that you'll be able to sort of see some of your strengths, and your strengths are going to help you build the things that you're not strong in. It's going to help you build that confidence. So those are your assignments for next week. We'll have another video next week, because I'm going to be here next week. And then I'm going to have 2 weeks where I'm going to be leading a thread, because I'm going to be working with 2 different groups for 2 weeks in a row. So I won't be here, but I will be leaving a thread. And maybe I could get one of you. I don't know where Kelly will be. I know she's not listening right now because she's off having fun with her honey. But maybe I can get Kelly to lead a live video. One of you. Somebody has to lead just for those 2 weeks. That would be kind of fun, I think. So anyway, and I can give you parameters. If you want to lead a live video, shoot me a message and we can talk about it. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for the wonderful things you just said, Margaret. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody who's watching, everybody who's taking this journey. I think that you're going to, if you can stick with it, you're going to make some great habit changes. And I think you'll feel really good for the new school year. So get out in the sun if it's sunshiny. Get out in the rain if it's not. But get outside and have fun and love your kids, and everybody give your kids a big hug and kiss. Tell them how much you appreciate them and love them, especially if you're really struggling with that. Hugs, hugs, hugs. Lots of hugs, even when you don't want to, is really helpful. So see you guys later. Bye. Finish.